Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with Karajan, complete DG recordings, and we're up to the 80s. The 80s. Here it is, this particular doorstop. Now, the 80s is the last decade of Karajan because he died, back then, around the 80s or 90s, I don't know, somewhere in then. Does it say when he died? No. But it's the 80s. And 78 CDs in this particular case. And we have to go through it. Oh, my. And it's really actually very interesting because this is the period in which he broke up with the Berlin Phil. And he remade a lot of things. And he still explored some new things. And so, yeah, I mean, there's still a lot worth considering in the 80s. Part of the problem with the 80s recordings, here we are, we get, as usual, we get this thing, then we get the cute little facsimile session souvenir. What does anyone want with these? I have no idea. No idea. And then you get the book. There's the book. And in addition to the book, you get the usual fabulous, this thing, wonderfully arranged in the form of a swastika, kind of. I just wonder if they were aware of the irony there. I don't know, but I think it's just, well, hilarious. All right, so let's see what we get. We're going to do it one clump at a time, more or less. And how do I get these? This is CD 50-somethings. That means the first ones should be over here. I think so. Yes, 1 through 20. I did it. I'm always excited when I get these things right because, they don't make it easy. You have to find out which disc you are. See the little tiny CD1 there, which is microscopic. But these are original jackets. Yes. Now, let's just say straight out. The problem with Karajan in the 80s, let me get comfy here. The problem with Karajan in the 80s was that, essentially, he was such a dictatorial presence on the European music scene. He had his own mixing equipment and his hearing was going and he was really into digital technology and they didn't really know what to do with it. And the result is that a lot of these recordings sounded like crap. I mean, they were just awful, absolutely awful. But after he died, the Karajan Gold edition came out, which is when they went back and tried to fix some of his penchant for screechy highs and no bass and weird balances, and they're largely successful. So some of these sound very good. They really do. So let's begin at the beginning, shall we? Here we go. The Alpine Symphony. Well, Karajan and Strauss is always wonderful. This is a big, slow, heavy-handed Alpine Symphony. Not bad, not fabulously recorded. There are better. There really are. I mean, he waited until this point in his career to do the Alpine Symphony because he thought that digital technology would just make it ever more Alpine. Well, not really. Bruckner, too. Karajan's early Bruckner is not as good as his later Bruckner. It just isn't. He really didn't start to get Bruckner until 7, 8, 9, in my view. Some of these earlier ones, I mean, they're not bad. Of course they're not bad. They're well played. But, they're not in any particular way special. And he plays early Bruckner sort of like late Bruckner, and it's not. It needs to have more of that Schubertian lilt and lyricism and less of the transcendental folderol that you get later. And he wasn't quite there. So there you are. Offenbach overtures. Oh, wonderful. See? It's always funny how they really get together when they get their act together, when they're doing light music, or theoretically light music. Why? Because they're having a good time, and they don't have to take themselves so seriously. Frankly, it would be much better if they didn't take themselves so seriously in Bruckner or Strauss either. But here you go. Strauss. Oh, this is 3 discs of Strauss stuff, right? Yes, Strauss waltzes. And they're lovely and Straussian and waltz-like, and that's all you need to know about them. Wonderfully played and really lovely. I mean, there's nothing not to like. Some people found them a little bit too perfumed and heavy-handed, and I remember when they came out a little, slick, and please. They're just lovely. And then we've got the Haydn Paris Symphonies. Now, this is fascinating. Karajan did a fantastic set of Haydn Paris Symphonies. One of the great big band Haydn records out there. And it's wonderful. What's wonderful is that you hear the woodwinds and the brass, the trumpets and drums aren't like recessed in the middle of nowhere, as they sort of are in his London symphonies that he did later. These are great performances. Really his best Haydn ever, and some of the best best Haydn Paris Symphony recordings. Go figure. Bruckner 3. Same remarks as Bruckner 2. Dvorak and Tchaikovsky string serenades. Gorgeous string playing. Oh my God, gorgeous string playing. Maybe a little bit too glutinous and thick for some of us, like me, for example. I tend to prefer lighter textures and a little bit more rhythmic variety than Karajan offers, but you can't complain about the playing. I mean, you just can't. Strauss, Metamorphosis and Death and Transfiguration. Oh, this is hot stuff. The Death and Transfiguration is unbelievable. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And not just because they finally get the tam-tam part right. In his earlier recording, you didn't even know it was there. Here, ooh, they give it quite a whack. Well, it's marked mezzo forte when it comes in. I know, I've played it. And the Metamorphosis is it's Metamorphosis. It's fabulous. And it's just perfectly timed. It's like, well, what is it? 28 minutes and 13 seconds or something like that. 11 seconds. And the Death and Transfiguration is just, oh my God. Oh, it actually makes you believe that something's really transfiguring. I mean, it's the apotheosis of his Strauss recordings. Mendelssohn and Bruch violin concertos with Anne-Sophie Mutter. Very good, and I couldn't care less. Shostakovich 10, the remake. This is better than his first one. It's more impactful. It's more exciting. It has more edge and a fuller body of orchestral tone. It's a stunning performance. It's one of the great ones. Absolutely one of the great ones. And the fact that he did it twice tells you that he believed in it too, which is really what shows. Nielsen 4. This is as horrible as the Shostakovich. It's fabulous. I admire him for doing Nielsen this late in his career. It was nice of him to attempt it, but this is a bloated and obscene performance that just goes absolutely nowhere. And it's not well recorded on top of it all. So ugh. It has none of that athletic leonine quality that Nielsen's music has to have. It's got to be sinewy. Sinew as in sinew, like muscle fiber, lean and mean. This is like me, fat and lazy. So there you go. Then we've got the Mozart, Great Mass in C minor. Oh God, Karajan's choral music is usually Bruckner 1. This is better than 2 and 3. Definitely better than 2 and 3. It's just more direct, more straightforward, more exciting. But it was, again, like all these early Bruckners, they were recorded in rather glassy sound, which they've tried to fix, but there was only so much they could do. The remake of The Planets. The Vienna Phil one is better. A lot better. This is Berlin. The playing is a little bit scruffy, strangely, in Mars, which is like in 5/4, things like that. He's not as precise. And again, sonically, the early Decca one has it all over this. I mean, it's not terrible, but, Okay. Mozart, Eine kleine Nachtmusik, Holberg Suite, Classical Symphony. Beautiful performances. Some people don't like the big band romantic approach, but I think I'm won over on that disc because it's just, it's so beautiful. I mean, why fetch? Oh, and here is the scandal, the Schadenfreude moment for all Karajan haters. Ha! Saint-Saëns Organ Symphony. Ugh, horrible. Horrible performance. Slow, heavy-handed, thick, and with an organ. It was the organ dubbed in from Notre Dame. It sounds like, as I said before, that the organ was, the pipes were by Pratt and Whitney. It sounds like a 747 getting ready to take off. Oh my God, it's just horrible. It's unlistenable, and there was nothing they could do about it. All they did when they remastered it was turn the organ into a sort of like white noise generator. I mean, you just hear boom, 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 do, 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 do. Horrible. Okay, so what are we up to now? This was number 20. Okay, that's the first 20. Next, let me see if this is the next 20. I'm hoping. No, it's not. Wait a minute, we must be going in the other direction here. What's this one? Nope, not. They're swastikas out of alignment. I don't understand that, but here's the next. Yes, okay, here's the next. Yes, next 20. Well, this goes up to 59. I don't understand it. That goes up to 59. What does this one go up to? This goes up to 39. Oh, no, this is right. No, their swastika just realigned itself. All right, well, I can put that there. It's already out. So then we get the Haydn London Symphonies. This is on 5 discs. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5 discs. And, oh, it's just not good. Oh, my goodness. They are slow. They are heavy-handed. It's big band Haydn. H.C. Robbins Landon, the noted Haydn scholar, said this was the best Haydn ever. Goes to show you, a lot he knew. Oof. They're just, I mean, compared to the Paris symphonies, they have beautiful moments. They really do. I mean, it's just, but it's, what's fascinating? Let me just make this point. Haydn is such an amazing composer. You know that a composer has reached that empyrean of unutterable greatness when he writes a series of works that everyone does in a series, but nobody gets them all, because he's just bigger than they are. His vision is grander than any one interpretive perspective. I mean, it's true of Beethoven and Mahler and Bruckner and a lot of people too. You find these complete cycles, but they all have their hits and misses. And that's what this has. And the reason is because the music is just greater than any one person's, interpretive whatever can encompass. And that's how I feel about Haydn's London symphonies. Okay, the Brahms Violin Concerto with Anne-Sophie Mutter. Okay, next. Schumann and Grieg. Piano concertos with Christian Zimmermann. These are also very big-scale performances, but they're beautiful. They're very, very beautiful. And, lots of people like them, and I like them too. I really do. Okay, Haydn the Creation. This is with the Wiener people, with the Wieners. And, the interesting thing here is that it competes with Karajan's earlier one, the one with Fritz Wunderlich, and that one's better. It's just better. I mean, even though Fritz Wunderlich died in the middle of it, it's still better. This is not bad, very similar, because, Karajan didn't change, really. What changed about his interpretations, essentially, was the performing forces and the sound. The interpretation was more or less the same no matter what, so it's not bad, but it doesn't have the impact and the excitement and the freshness of that earlier one. No way. Grieg, Peer Gynt Suites and Pelléas and Mélisande. Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. Sibelius is Pelléas. There we go. Sibelius and Melisande. That's what it is. Oh, it's just wonderful. Wonderful. Okay, here we go. The Beethoven cycle, the endless next Beethoven cycle. It's not as bad as people said it was. It's still exciting. It's still Karajan. It's the same Beethoven that we heard essentially twice previously on DG with the Berlin Philharmonic. This is 5 and 6, and it's okay. I mean, it's okay. I mean, it's as good as those other ones, essentially. Depends on how you feel about the sound. And they did clean up the sound when they remastered these for Karajan Gold, and so they're okay. But he doesn't take repeats, and, you're best off with the 77 Beethovens, I think, as a cycle. Yes, the live Mahler 9, one of the great ones. First of all, it doesn't have the E-flat clarinet getting lost in the middle of the Rondo Burlesque, which is a good thing. And second of all, this is live, and so it has, it's very different from what Karajan achieved sonically when he was in the studio. And it really says something that he allowed this to be published to compete with himself as a live performance that he could only futz with minimally, because, boy, is it astonishing. And it has a great tam-tam crash in the first movement. And it's amazingly well played, and the string playing is astonishing, and it's just great. The Rondo Burlesque is exciting as hell, and oh, yeah. I mean, it's really impressive. It just goes to show that even Karajan, he did continue to evolve, and sometimes could do sterling better work the second time around. So there you go. Then there's this thing. This is just a thing. What is this thing? I have no idea what that thing is. Wait a minute. It's a thing. And it's, oh yes, Tchaikovsky. Romeo and Juliet and the Nutcracker Suite. There we go. Karajan Tchaikovsky. That's what it says. It says that, actually. And, they're very good. Tchaikovsky's always very good. He was a terrific Tchaikovsky conductor. Let's see, what have we got? More Beethoven. Doesn't matter. I'm not even going to name the thing that makes me wear a tie because there's no point. Oh, yes. Les Preludes, the Moldau, the William Tell Overture, Hungarian Rhapsody No. 5, Invitation to the Dance. It's the Sylvester concert from 1983, beginning of 84. Went past midnight, evidently. Yeah, it's fun. Nice. What's not to like? Brahms' Double Concerto and the Tragic Overture, and with Anne-Sophie Mutter and Antonio Meneses. Who cares? Brahms symphonies again. Now, the Brahms symphonies in this particular cycle, as opposed to the other 5 or 6 that he did, let me see if I can get these put away, were really quite good. Brahms is always good. they're always good, and there are some really beautiful performances in here, particularly the fourth, I think, which is coming up shortly. But they're beautiful, and if you like Karajan's Brahms generally, there's no reason not to like it. Okay, more Strauss. Now, these Strauss remakes, after Death and Transfiguration, they get weird. This Zarathustra, he does something with the orchestration at the opening sunrise. There's like extra triangle, or the organ is something else, and I don't know what he does. It's not what Strauss wrote. I mean, not really. I mean, sort of is, but strange things happen. And Don Juan, and it's not as good as his 70s Strauss. They were really better. They really, really were. Except for Death and Transfiguration and the Alpine Symphony, of course, which, the Alpine was new. So yeah, that was a weird one. I mean, no reason to remake it. No reason at all. Oh, yes. Brahms' German Requiem with the Bruckner Te Deum. Now, the Bruckner Te Deum from the first version he did for GG is 1,000 times better. It was coupled to it, just vile Verdi Requiem. Disgusting. And or at least on CD, not originally. And then the German Requiem, oh, what a snooze fest. It's just slow and triacly and sanctimonious and heavy-handed, and like all of his German Requiems. Okay, more Beethoven cycle we don't need to go into. Albinoni, Adagio, Pachelbel Canon, Bach, Air in a G-string, Vivaldi la Notte, Mozart, Serenata Notturna, Gluck, the Dance of the Blessed Spirits. I mean, it is what it is. Doesn't that sound fair? Bizet, L'Arlésienne Suites 1 and 2, and the Carmen Suite. Now, they could have put all the Carmen Suites on here. There's no reason not, to have it all. But they're wonderfully well played and lovely to listen to, and, that's it. Okay, Wagner, Tristan and Isolde, Tannhäuser stuff, Tannhäuser, and let's see, Overture, and the Bacchanal, which is really important. I love the Bacchanal. I mean, it's trash, of course, and it has castanets, which is how you know it's about sex. And we've got the Meistersinger Prelude to the third act, and Tristan and Isolde Prelude and Liebestod. I mean, it's Wagner's Karajan. Wagner plays Karajan. I mean, Wagner's Karajan was always very good, and so it remains. Then we've got, let's see, Sibelius. Oh, yeah. Finlandia, the Vals Triest, Tapiola, the Schwan von Tuonela, and the Swan of Tuonela. These are beautiful performances. They really are. Sibelius was always great. He did it before. We didn't need it again. We really didn't. I mean, the Tapiola may be a little better. It may be his best version. It's possible. More Beethoven. Who cares? Let's see. Beethoven. Tchaikovsky symphonies again with the Vienna Phil. Now, these Tchaikovskys with the Vienna Phil are not as good as his previous ones with the Berlin Phil. They're not terrible, again, but, this was right after, like, the big dust-up with Berlin, and he went and huffed up to Vienna and said, I'm going to do my 50th version of the Tchaikovsky symphonies with you guys, and not with those guys. And it was his 50th version of these things. He did them 100 times, and the performances are always basically the same. But those earlier Berlin recordings are really better. I mean, they're just sonically and interpretively, and that's it. Oh, yeah, the Verdi Requiem. Again, I mean, this is not as horrid as his previous one. It has a little bit more guts, a little bit more emphasis, but it's just as, in religious music, Karajan was just, he was the Yom Kippur Jew of choral music. He just only went on the high holidays. It was sanctimony in sound. It really was. It's just this insipid, absolutely insipid. Nothing serious going on there. Okay, more Beethoven. We don't care. More Tchaikovsky, the Fifth Symphony, the Fourth Symphony. Again, the earlier ones are better. Debussy, La Mer, Prelude to the Afternoon of Faun, Daphnis and Chloe Suite No. 2, Pavane. This is all stuff he did before. That previous one was famous as like super duper excellent, fabulous Berlin sound. I never much cared for it, actually. I appreciated the playing, but didn't think it sounded terribly idiomatic, and neither does this. So there you go. Ein Heldenleben, again. Remember, the first thing here that he did for DG was Ein Heldenleben, and this is the next one. He was always heavy and humorless in this piece. Always. And I find it just, he takes it way too seriously. He really does. Okay. Dvorak, New World Symphony, and Smetana's The Moldau with the Vienna Phil. Not bad, not great, not necessary. Dvorak 8th. This was a Karajan specialty. His Vienna recording for Decca is one of my reference recordings. It's unbelievably beautiful and stunning. This one is not as good. It's very good. I mean, it's very, very good, but it's not, you know, if you compare A, B, there's just, you just get the sense that there's, everything is more in place. The ensemble is more together, and the performance overall is more joyful, but it's almost identical to that earlier version. And the sound is better, the Decca sound for sure. So this goes up to 59, and we're in the last clump. So hang on, let me put this back into its swastika, and we'll take out this one. Up, there we go. 78, yep, there we are. The end. Pope John Paul, Solemn High Mass in St. Peter's, the Coronation Mass by Mozart. If that floats your boat, more power to you. Strauss, 4 last songs, and other little songlets, and yes, it's songs with the Capriccio scene, and oh gosh, how are you supposed to see this? Look at this. Can you read that? Can you read that? There you go. Oh gosh, it's cruel. The bottom line is that it's Anatomo Vicentov. It's very, very nicely done, but I mean, you know, you've got Gundula Janowitz in the 4 last songs previously. Well, you know, that speaks for itself, doesn't it? Oh, God, the Missa Solemnis. Another Karajan choral extravaganza that you might as well slit your wrists and die. Let's see. Pictures in an Exhibition, Rhapsody Espagnole, and Bolero. They're pretty good. Actually, I think this is better than his earlier one, but this was never his specialty stuff. I mean, it really wasn't. He didn't have the French schwung. I guess the French don't have schwung. They have something else. But, you know, there was something there that he didn't have. You know, it's like Louise Lasser and Bananas. You know, I mean, you know, when Woody Allen has sex with her and he takes off his beard or whatever he does, and he says, "It's me, Alfie." And she said, "I knew something was missing." That's how I feel about his Ravel. Richard Strauss, Don Quixote and Till Eulenspiegel, totally unnecessary. Mozart Requiem, totally unnecessary. Mozart, Divertimento and Serenata Notturna, again? I mean, yeah, probably they borrowed this one for the other one. I don't know. I mean, it's Karajan's Mozart always is an iffy proposition in my view. Some of you have said that you love it because the playing really is lovely. I mean, they're beautiful performances, but they're not my thing. See, we're getting toward the end here. And at the end, there were a lot of sort of occasional recordings, shall we just say. Jesse Norman doing Wagner stuff from Tannhäuser, the Siegfried Idyll, and the Prelude and Liebestod from Tristan and Isolde. It's a Jesse Norman disc. It's not a Karajan disc. It's well sung. Norman was good in Tannhäuser. She was never much of an Isolde. And, you know, if you like Jesse Norman, go for it. New Year's concert in Vienna. Yeah, sure. Happy New Year to you, too. Mozart. Oh, God. Symphonies 29 and 39. You know, things that, you know, we're just drooling to have. I am not big on those performances either. More Brahms. Let's see. This is Brahms 1. This is quite good. Then we've got Mozart, Divertimento, Kerschel 287, and Eine kleine Nachtmusik. I mean, these are, you can tell now, right? These are like odds and ends. Dribs and drabs of the Berlin legacy. Tchaikovsky Violin Concerto with Anne-Sophie Mutter. Well, it's better than her other ones. Let's put it that way. Definitely better. I mean, really, really better. I mean, it's a good performance. There's nothing wrong with it. Tchaikovsky Piano Concerto No. 1 with Yevgeny Kissin. Oh, people went nuts over this. Is it a great Tchaik one? No. It's not bad. Again, it's not bad. It's there. Bruckner 8. First rate. Absolutely first rate. A fabulous, fabulous performance. Really, really splendid. Absolutely gorgeous. It's worth pointing out that this is marked as having compact disc 1 and compact disc 2, but there's only one CD. It's all on one CD now, which is really pretty cool. A great Bruckner 8th. I saw this live at Carnegie Hall. It was one of the great things I've ever seen in my life. Even Karajan was amazed. You know, he sort of went, wow, I can't believe we did that. He was in pain. He was suffering. He limped out. It was a mess. And they just blew the roof off. It was tremendous. And it sounds great on disc 2. Okay, Brahms, Symphonies 3 and 4, and then the Bruckner 7th, his last recording, which is also very, very beautiful. And that's the Karajan in the 80s. It's very much a mixed bag, and as you can tell, it's far less systematic than the other stuff, you know, than his earlier, you know, 60s and 70s, because he had he was at the end. He was at the end of his career, the end of his life, as it turned out. And so, there's something a little sad about doing very little but what you've done before, and virtually identically to what you've done before. I don't see the point. Do you need this? If you could get it, if you could find it, well, you know which individual performances interest you. And there are some outstanding ones. But out of 78 CDs, the stuff that, if you've been following Karajan, or if you have the 60s or 70s box, what would you really need? Maybe a dozen recordings out of here? Maybe? Not much more than that, I think. I mean, unless the duplication appeals to you. And that's up to you, of course. So keep on listening, friends. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care.